Have you ever wondered what forces have shaped the complex, diverse life forms we see on our planet today? From the steady, slow crawl of the tortoise to the swift, agile flight of the hummingbird, our world is home to a mind-boggling array of creatures, each with their unique quirks and capabilities. Now imagine this. All these diverse forms of life, in all their splendid variety, are the result of the same fundamental processes, the same underlying mechanisms, tirelessly at work for billions of years. Yes, you've got it right. We're talking about evolution, the master sculptor of life on Earth. Evolution is not just about survival of the fittest or the gradual transformation of one species into another. It's a fascinating tale of adaptation and change, of competition and cooperation, of survival and extinction. This grand epic of life unfolds over time scales that are almost impossible for us to comprehend. Over billions of years, the forces of evolution have shaped the simplest of life forms into the dizzying array of species we see today. From the tiniest microorganisms, invisible to the naked eye, to the majestic whales that dominate our oceans, every living creature is a testament to the power and mystery of evolution. But what's truly fascinating is that despite the vast diversity of life on Earth, all these different species have been shaped by the same forces. The same rules apply whether you're a bacterium, a mushroom, a giraffe, or a human being. The rules of the game are universal, and they've been in play since the dawn of life on our planet. So, what are these forces that have played such an integral role in the evolution of life on Earth? Let's unravel this mystery. Stay tuned as we embark on this exciting journey through time and space, exploring the intriguing world of evolution and discovering the forces that have shaped life as we know it. This is more than just a story. It's the story of us, of where we come from, and how we came to be. So are you ready to dive in? Let's get started. Our journey begins around 3.5 billion years ago with the first signs of life on Earth. Picture a world vastly different from the one we know today. It was a time when our planet was still in its infancy, a barren landscape of molten rock and swirling gases. Yet in this hostile environment, something extraordinary happened. Life found a way. In the primordial soup of Earth's early oceans, a miracle of chemistry occurred. Simple molecules began to form more complex structures, eventually giving rise to the first primitive life forms. These were not creatures as we understand them, but rather microscopic organisms, single-celled entities that thrived in the extreme conditions of early Earth. Now, you might ask, how did these simple life forms evolve into the dizzying array of species we see today? The answer lies in a powerful process that Charles Darwin called natural selection. In its simplest terms, natural selection is survival of the fittest. Those organisms that are best suited to their environment survive and reproduce, passing on their advantageous traits to their offspring. Imagine a population of these primitive organisms, all slightly different from one another. Some may have developed a way to use sunlight for energy, while others might have evolved the ability to move towards food sources. These traits would give them an edge, a higher chance of survival in a challenging world. Over countless generations, these advantageous traits accumulate, leading to significant changes in the species. This is evolution in action, a slow and gradual process that shapes life in response to the demands of the environment. From these humble beginnings, life on Earth embarked on a journey of constant change and adaptation. Each new species, each evolutionary leap, was a response to the challenges posed by a constantly changing planet. These primitive life forms set the stage for the epic saga of evolution, powered by the engine of natural selection. They represent the dawn of life, a spark of existence that ignited the flame of biodiversity we see today. Natural selection, the survival of the fittest, is the primary force behind evolution. This principle, first proposed by Charles Darwin, is as crucial to understanding life on Earth today as it was back in the 19th century. Natural selection can be thought of as nature's sieve, sifting through variations in species and allowing only the most beneficial traits to continue. It's not a conscious process, but rather a result of environmental pressures that favor certain traits over others. Let's take a journey back in time and consider the giraffe. Millions of years ago, giraffes didn't have the long necks they're known for today. Their ancestors were more like deer, with short necks and a diet of shrubs and grasses. However, as food became scarce on the ground, those giraffes with slightly longer necks could reach the untouched leaves higher up in the trees. These longer-necked giraffes had a better chance of survival and, over time, passed on their longer neck genes to their offspring. But it's not just about survival, it's about reproduction too. A trait isn't beneficial if it doesn't help an organism live long enough to reproduce and pass that trait on to the next generation. So, in the case of our giraffes, not only did longer necks mean more food and better survival rates, but it also meant more chances to mate and pass on those long neck genes. Now, it's important to remember that natural selection isn't about perfection. It's about suitability. The traits that are selected aren't necessarily the best. They are the ones that are good enough for an organism to survive and reproduce in its specific environment. And so, through countless generations, species are honed and shaped by the relentless grindstone of natural selection. It's a process that's slow, often taking thousands or even millions of years, but it's also unyielding and incredibly effective. Natural selection is a ruthless but effective sculptor, carving out the fittest from the raw material of life. It's a process that has shaped every living thing on this planet, from the smallest microbe to the largest whale, and it's still at work today, influencing the future course of evolution. But natural selection isn't the only force at work. Enter mutations, the wild cards of evolution. Contrary to what some might think, mutations aren't always about superpowers or disastrous deformities. They are simply changes in the genetic code, and they're at the very heart of evolution. Mutations introduce a thrilling element of chance into the evolutionary process, a bit like shuffling a deck of cards and dealing a hand that's never been seen before. Let's take a step back and think about the genetic code. It's like a recipe book that tells an organism how to build itself. When a mutation occurs, it's as if a word, sentence, or even an entire page in that recipe book gets altered. This can lead to new traits or variations in a species. These variations are then acted upon by natural selection. It's like a grand audition where the environment is the casting director and the variations are the hopeful actors. The variations that best fit the role, that is, the environment, get the part and pass their successful traits on to the next generation. For instance, consider a population of beetles. If a mutation causes some beetles to turn green, they might blend better with the leaves, making them less likely to be eaten by predators. This green mutation, then, would be a beneficial one, giving these beetles a better chance of survival. But mutations aren't always beneficial. In fact, most are neutral or even harmful. Imagine if that beetle mutation turned them bright pink instead of green. They'd stand out like a sore thumb to predators and likely wouldn't survive long. But it's these harmful mutations that help to weed out unfit variations, leaving only the fittest to survive. Mutations are the game changers of evolution, giving rise to new species and driving the diversity of life we see on Earth today. They are the source of the raw material that natural selection shapes into the intricate tapestry of life. Mutations, while often destructive, provide the essential fuel for the engine of natural selection. There's another force shaping evolution, one that's a bit more romantic: sexual selection. Imagine the extravagant feathers of a peacock or the melodious song of a nightingale. These traits might not seem particularly useful for survival, but they play a crucial role in the game of love. This is the realm of sexual selection, an evolutionary force that shapes life in a way that's different from, yet intertwined with, natural selection. So what exactly is sexual selection? It's a process where certain traits evolve not because they increase an individual's survival, but because they give an edge in mating. This happens in two main ways. First, through contest competition, where individuals of one sex, usually males, compete with each other for access to mates. Think of two stags locking antlers in a fierce battle. The winner gets the girl, passing on his genes to the next generation. The second way is through mate choice, often by females, based on certain desirable traits in males. This is where those peacock feathers come into play. Despite being big, bright, and seemingly a predator's dream, they are a hit with the peahen. Why? Because they signal the male's good genes and overall fitness. This forms the basis of what's called the handicap principle, suggesting that only a healthy, high-quality individual can afford to have such costly traits. And it's not just about physical traits. In species with complex social structures, like dolphins or wolves, being a good leader or a cooperative team player can also be sexually attractive. But there's a catch. The traits favored by sexual selection can sometimes clash with those favored by natural selection, leading to an evolutionary tug-of-war. For instance, a peacock's showy tail might win him mates, but it also makes him an easy target for predators. While natural selection is about survival, sexual selection is about winning the mating game. The dance of evolution, it seems, is a delicate balancing act between staying alive and finding a partner. Our planet isn't static, and neither is evolution. The changing environment is a significant player in this game. Think of our world as a stage, and the species that inhabit it as actors. Each time the stage changes, the actors must adapt their performance or risk being ousted from the show. One of the most compelling examples of this is the peppered moth in England. In the early 19th century, the moth was primarily white, enabling it to blend with the lichen-covered trees and evade predators. However, as the Industrial Revolution progressed, soot from factories darkened the trees. The white moths became conspicuous, and the darker variant of the moth flourished. The environment had changed, and with it, the moth evolved. The story is similar for the finches of the Galapagos Islands, a tale made famous by Charles Darwin. Each island has its unique environment, leading to a diverse range of finches. On one island, the finches might have long, thin beaks for extracting nectar from flowers. On another, the finches might have robust, strong beaks for cracking open seeds. The environment defined the rules, and the finches played along. But what happens when the environment changes too rapidly? The sad reality is that not all species can keep up. Take the polar bear, for instance. As the Arctic ice melts due to global warming, the polar bear's hunting grounds are shrinking. It's a race against time for the polar bear, a race that many species are unfortunately losing. This underscores the urgency of our efforts to protect our planet. Every action we take, every policy we implement, every technology we develop has the potential to alter the environment and, consequently, the course of evolution. We hold in our hands not just the fate of our species, but of all life on Earth. As our planet changes, so too does the course of evolution. We are not merely observers in this grand spectacle. We are active participants, and our choices will shape the future of life on Earth. Evolution isn't driven by a single force, but by a symphony of them working in harmony. Picture the grandeur of a symphony. Each instrument, from the smallest piccolo to the mightiest drum, has a unique role to play. Together, they create a harmonious sound that is more powerful and beautiful than any single instrument could produce on its own. This is much like the forces that shape evolution: natural selection, mutation, sexual selection, and environmental changes. Each plays a distinct role, yet they are all interconnected, working together to shape the intricate dance of life we see around us. Natural selection, our first player, is the conductor, guiding the rhythm of evolution. It ensures the survival of the fittest, those best suited to their environment, enabling them to pass their genes on to the next generation. Mutation, our second player, is the composer, creating new melodies and harmonies. Mutations introduce genetic variations, the raw material upon which natural selection works. They are the sparks of change that fuel the engine of evolution. Sexual selection, our third player, adds a touch of romance to our symphony. It drives the evolution of traits that improve an organism's chances of attracting mates and reproducing. It's the force behind the peacock's brilliant tail feathers, the lion's majestic mane, and the nightingale's enchanting song. Environmental changes, our final player, are the grand stage upon which this symphony is performed. Changes in the environment can alter the course of evolution, determining which traits are advantageous and which are not. It's a powerful force, capable of turning the tide of the symphony in unexpected ways. Each of these forces plays a pivotal role in the grand symphony of evolution. They interact and influence each other, creating a complex and dynamic process that is continually unfolding. It's a symphony that has been playing for billions of years, shaping the diversity of life we see today. The forces that shape evolution are like musicians in an orchestra, each playing their part in the grand symphony of life. But what does the future hold for evolution? As we gaze into the crystal ball of time, we can predict how evolution might unfold. The environment, as always, will play a significant role. Climate change, for one, is bound to create new selection pressures, driving evolution in unexpected directions. Meanwhile, human influence cannot be ignored. Our actions have already altered the course of countless species, and this trend is likely to continue. Imagine a world where bioengineering allows us to design our own evolution, where we could adapt to new environments, even those beyond our planet. Or consider the potential impact of artificial intelligence. Could we be on the cusp of witnessing a new form of digital evolution? These are tantalizing possibilities, but they remain speculative. Whatever the future holds, one thing is certain: the forces that shape evolution will continue to compose the ever-changing symphony of life on Earth. Before we conclude this journey through the fascinating world of evolution, we'd love to hear from you. If you've learned something new from this video, why not share that knowledge? Give this video a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us grow and reach more curious minds like yours. Are you intrigued by the mysteries of evolution? Keen on knowing how life will adapt and thrive in the face of future challenges? Then, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We consistently create content that explores the wonders of our world and beyond. By subscribing, you're not just supporting us, but also fueling your own journey of discovery. Consider sharing this video with your friends and family. Who knows, you might spark a debate, start a conversation, or inspire someone to learn more about the marvels of evolution. Remember, knowledge increases by sharing, not by saving. As we wrap up, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude to you, our viewer. Your interest and support make it possible for us to delve into these fascinating subjects. So thank you for watching, thank you for engaging, and thank you for being a part of this journey of discovery. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep marveling at the wonders of evolution.